It's time for Tycoons of Small Biz, spotlighting the true backbone of the American economy, the true tycoons of business in America, the owners, founders, and CEOs of small businesses. The show's hosts, Austin Peterson and Landon Mance, are registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker-dealer member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. The views expressed by your hosts, Austin and Landon, are not necessarily the views of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Let's lean in as Austin and Landon connect with this week's Tycoons.
Good afternoon, Tycoons, and welcome to this episode of Tycoons of Small Biz. This is Austin Peterson. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Landon Mance. And today we're excited to have in studio Kassidy Hazelton with HardHats. Kassidy, thank you, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so couldn't think of anything better to do in the dog days of summer than to be on a podcast with us, huh?
No, this is awesome. I'm enjoying this experience, and thanks for having me for sure.
Yeah. So we always like to start by having our guests tell us a little bit about themselves on the personal side, you know, family life, where you grew up, that sort of thing. If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm an Arizona native. I was born and raised here in Arizona. My family has actually been in the construction industry for 4 generations, and so I'm in 4th in line, and my family still remains in the industry today. And I originally went to school for medical assisting. And I realized early on that I thought that was the industry that I wanted to be in, but I realized I had a real good business savvy, kind of street smart outlook, and I was really itching to start a business. And so that's kind of what brings me here today. I'm 36. I really feel that Arizona is the place for me to start this business and really launch from here. And in addition to HardHats and HardHats, my birthday was also on Labor Day. So, I mean, you can't really get more ironic than that. So, yeah, in addition, I think this whole experience has been great, and I have a lot of support. My family is very supportive on my venture and my startup. So,
yeah. No, I think that's exciting, and you're absolutely right. From an economy standpoint, whether it's construction or otherwise, the Phoenix market is fantastic, right? And it's a great place to start a business. It's a great place to build a business. It's a great place to raise a family. So I think you made the right decision, obviously. I mean, no knock on medical assisting, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like you made the right decision for you and for your future.
Right. And I definitely felt the pressure early on to kind of make that decision early out of high school. But I've always had this very bold personality and very creative ways of thinking. And so early in my early 30s, I realized that I wanted to start a business. And once I basically got hard hats in my hand, I thought, wow, I'm really good at this. I'm going to stick with it. And so far, it's been great. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's exciting. I mean, so my personal background, I actually also grew up in a construction family. My father is a stucco contractor. I have an uncle that was a stucco contractor. My brother's a heating and air contractor. So it runs deep in my family. I'm kind of the black sheep that decided to go, you know, white collar, if we can still call it that. But I'm always real kind of drawn to that blue collar side of things. A good portion of my clients personally are owners of blue collar businesses because I think they get it, right? I mean, and I think a lot of times that blue collar business owners are viewed as just guys who know how to work on stuff or gals who know how to work on stuff, and so they decided they would start this little business, but you've taken a different spin on, you know, hard hats and what you're doing here. So I want to have you go into that, but, you know, you talked about 4 generations, long time. So can you give us a number of years that
about 70.
Okay.
It's been about 70 years. I guess a little rundown of that. My grandfather worked in the union. He was with Stunt Construction. And my uncle also worked for the union. And then my dad, he has worked for several contractors and construction companies here in Arizona and some others across the state. And he used to be in equipment rentals. That's kind of how this all happened. But because he had a lot of customers and he leased and sold out equipment, he was a manager for Red Mountain Rentals. And so he knew the frustrations in the industry with some of his customers not being able to find quality. And so that then was given to me. And so my dad is actually working down at SWP Contracting down at the border. He's doing the highways right now. So it's really cool and to see how he still is very involved. And ironically, the company that he works for, the guy who sold it, his name is Bobby Law, is actually my investor. So he snagged me and he snagged my dad at the same time when his company went out of business that he was working for. So yeah, there's a lot of support from the Arizona industry for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really cool to see and to hear, and an opportunity to work with your dad is always a good thing as well.
Yeah, it's a interesting mentorship. And, because I am his daughter and, he wants me to do well. He knows the ins and outs of sales and how, you need to be successful in selling a product. So, and now I'm dealing with his customers. And so when I talk to him about a customer I spoke to or even a worker, they're like, hey, I know your dad. And I'm like, of course you know my dad. And so if I'm maybe having a challenge with a customer about selling, perhaps, let's say, for example, he really hits me hard on, these are the things you need to work on and say. So he's constantly mentoring me in this industry for sure. So it's a great synergy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that chuckle tells me that sometimes he can be a little overbearing. But,
yes.
I said it, you didn't. So your dad can blame that on me.
Yeah, we're a lot alike in nature. I realized over time, he's basically my co-founder. I really get a lot of insight from him. We did butt heads a lot early on in the beginning, but I realized that I value his opinion so much and that he's actually on the executive administrative advisor role because he just oversees. I ask him everything. Even I'm like, what's that piece of equipment? What does it do? How long does it, and so he's always there for me anytime I need it. Yeah.
Well, I hope in the future my kids speak as highly of me as yours do, or as you do your dad.
Yeah, he drives me nuts sometimes. I love him.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, grew up in a construction family, long history of construction, of course. But what would you say specifically makes you qualified for what you're doing now?
Right. So I would say because of my family, I definitely have the qualifications for understanding the problems and kind of being grandfathered into this industry is really important for most professionals and any business that is ran in construction. They want to know that they can trust you, and it's really hard to get your foot in the door. And so that alone gives me an advantage, but also makes me qualified because I'm constantly educated between either him or my significant other. And even when I'm dealing with professionals that are looking for jobs or construction workers, they all know my dad. So they all become kind of like my second dad. They're telling me, this, and that. And so I'm so well aware and probably overly educated in this industry. And I get to see it firsthand with my significant other, who's a superintendent and works for a big company called Hellas Construction. And that's how actually HardHats was built, because I was listening to him during this storm that hit, which I'll go into. But if it wasn't for me being surrounded about the industry and the problems that it's facing, I wouldn't be able to problem solve my way into what I'm building right now. So very unique.
So we didn't talking about this ahead of time, but I have to ask, a female in the construction industry, specifically hard hat type construction industry, is still abnormal, right, nowadays. And so you want to talk a little bit about the advantages or disadvantages of being a female in this industry?
Right. So being a woman in business in general always has its challenges. Being a minority, we can categorize it as that. And now I am going full-fledged in probably one of the toughest, most male-dominated industry as a woman, solving probably the biggest problem that the industry faces right now is, quite honestly, and not to toot my own horn, but that is pretty dang bold. So far, I haven't felt like anyone's trying to hold me back. And if they do, I usually go running through the doors anyway. There's usually, and if they do, it just makes me work harder. And that doubt, that small piece of doubt, I actually enjoy it because it then keeps me in that direction of what I need to do. Because if someone's not, doing that, then you know that maybe you're, what do they say? Like, as far as people hating on you a little bit, you're doing something right, in other words. But overall, I have great support, but we are often kind of dissected, I feel like, and looked at like a new species sometimes. Like, what is this nature, this freak of nature coming into our world, and we must dissect her. So that's about some of the challenges that I feel as a founder, but people are really rooting for me in the problem that I'm solving.
Yeah, no, I think you're obviously solving a huge problem, and we'll go into that a little bit more. And for those of us who think that it's just Kassidy and I, because we could talk all day long, I feel like
right.
We could just have this conversation all day long. I'm going to introduce Landon and let him talk a little bit about some things on his mind, what he wants to ask you.
Really excited to have you in here. I'm a really curious person, and I think that is a trait amongst all entrepreneurs. You seem to have that as a heightened trait, which I think is really cool, because just listening to your story, saying that you were listening to your significant other go through some kind of an issue, which piqued your curiosity, which led into you starting up what you call kind of your venture. So walk us through that process and the evolution of how it came about, and tell us about what it is exactly that you are doing right now in your company.
Yeah, so the evolution of HardHats and where I came at with this idea originally resonated from when my dad and I were having a conversation about some of the problems that his customers were having. I then kind of started this little social job board geared towards people in construction for employees and employers to connect nationally. And it's kind of had this LinkedIn vibe, but I realized it wasn't providing the solutions that I knew that I could do. I knew that there was something else there. During that time of working on that business, I was approached by an accelerator named Coplex, who takes industry experts and solves big industry problems. So I was really, once that was introduced to me, I couldn't help myself. I ran wild. I put a deck together. I doodled in this little industrious woman's book, and I was writing down all my ideas. I still have it. And from there, I pitched my idea to one investor, and that was it. It was like, boom, here I am starting this startup, and like, it's been an incredible ride. So during that time of figuring out what is HardHats going to do, how are we going to find these solutions? And in the beginning, I had some basic solutions, and then one day, last year sometime, a huge storm hit during monsoon season, and my significant's traveling with his crew. And I hear him on the phone really stressing to his guys, I can't lose you. We need to keep our crew together. But guess what? These guys don't get paid when a storm hits and downtime occurs. They're completely unpaid. I mean, how frustrating is that for anyone who has a family to take care of, and then they have no income? And so I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. Like, he just lost 2 guys out of his crew. What can I do to take those 2 guys and funnel them back into the workforce, really? How can we create a marketplace and bring people in this industry, continue to keep them in the industry temporarily, or find them new employment when companies are in dire need of manpower? And so really, that's really what HardHats is surrounded by, is the pain problems, the frustrations that the industry is really going through, which I don't think anyone's really done. They put up these platforms and they're like, here's these jobs. But really what makes it different is that we're really working this around both contractor and worker so that we can adapt to their needs versus what we need to do. I think that is huge. But HardHats so far is doing great with serving the industry. We're still very early on, but just the other day, we matched an entire crew. And it happened so fast. And I thought, if we're able to take entire crews on a job that just started and bring them to an employer and get them onboarded, I mean, that alone can bring serious relief to any contractor in the United States. So, yeah.
I would imagine that that would save them a tremendous amount of time. Now, let me take one step back and,
Sure.
and just say that I I can hardly hammer a nail into the wall to hang a picture. So I wouldn't know the first thing about hiring a crew to do a job, but I would imagine that for you to be able to place a team like that, that effectively and efficiently, I would assume that would be a huge game changer and a time saver for your clients.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity for most companies to see that we're targeting people when they're in dire need of income or a job due to any reason of downtime. And there's several reasons when this downtime occurs. It's not just weather. But if we can hit heavy on both sides of both demand and supply in this industry, I think that will satisfy both people in this industry and keep people curious about the other opportunities that we can provide them, even if it's a career. And so we're doing a really good job at attracting people that have absolutely no experience in construction. So I'm really anxious to see what I could do with that too.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us a little bit about your brand and your logo. I think it's fair to say it's a little bit different than some of the others out there. So tell us kind of how that came about.
Yeah, so I went through a branding workshop with Coplex when I first started with them. And of course, we kind of did an exercise in figuring out which one was settling with me, which one felt right for the industry, what was going to be different, what was going to be youthful and attractive to people that typically don't consider construction as a career or even a job in this industry. So it was really important for me to look at what could one logo do for everything that this industry needs. And so the little yellow hard hat obviously represents a hard hat, and we changed those colors to kind of represent certain times of the year or certain events that are going on. I think that's really fun. But also, they're, without going, too much into this, there's a lot of mental health in this industry too. So I really felt like the smile. I thought it would be really cool to, show into our logo that this is a great industry. There are people who can take care of you and you can be happy in this industry, because not a lot of people see it like that. They see dirt, shovel, hard work, and it's not just that. And so I really wanted to bring that culture into this industry.
Yeah, no, excuse me. I think that there is a lot of misunderstanding of what the blue collar industries are about. And we actually had a guest on, the very first guest actually that we had on this podcast that talks about this. And so I want to explore that a little bit, but let's take a quick break to hear a word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
At Paylocity, we deliver more than our awesome product suite with crazy good reviews. We prioritize your success by covering you with a deep support system to back up our easy-to-use, innovative HR solutions. Everything we do is designed to support you in reaching your goals. Together, we tackle your day-to-day work so that you can spend more time building the culture you and your employees crave. For professionals who crave true partnership, Paylocity is the HR and payroll company that frees you from the tasks of today, so together we can spend more time focused on the promise of tomorrow. Let's go forward together.
All right, we're back with Kassidy Hazelton with Hire Hard Hats. And just before the break, we were talking a little bit about the construction industry in general, or blue collar, and the way that it's kind of viewed. And I mentioned that we had a guest on, a couple months ago, and he put a book out. His name's Josh Zolan. He put a book out called Blue is the New White. And somebody that you should definitely get to know. If you don't know him personally, I'm happy to make that connection. But he believes that there's going to be, and there continues to be, and you've talked about this a little bit, and will a bit in a minute, about this shortage of labor, right? And it's that we've had this kind of shift in our educational system that kind of pushes everybody to feel like they need to go to college in order to be successful in life. And some people, college is the right direction, and some people, it's not. Sometimes it's a technical college. Sometimes it's just on-the-job training as an apprenticeship for, plumbing or whatever it may be, to learn. And so I think it's interesting and unique that you're targeting in on that or honing in on that. And so I guess my question would be, are you doing anything with partnerships or, that can get to people younger and have people start to get interested in this? What does the future look like, I guess, for Hire Hard Hats?
Right. So we've absolutely made partnerships in addition to job boards, but also training programs, vocational training, like Heavy Equipment Colleges of America was our first partner. ZipRecruiter being one. Empire Cat is one that we're working on right now. The Arizona Department of Transportation, eBacon, Tag Employer Services, and I know I'm probably forgetting one in there, but yeah, I of course would love more on top of that as far as like education. But what Hard Hats is doing to kind of bring this new fresh feel and people in this industry is really drawing in a new energy with the startup opportunity and internships that Hard Hats can then bring in college students to get them educated on startups, but also construction. So I've done a really good job at turning one of my current interns, who's now our COO, Chief Operating Officer, who knew nothing about construction, really didn't care much about it, and just knew a little bit about it. And now she's obsessed because now she sees this opportunity. Her name is Mukta. She's great. She's super smart. She's not even 21 yet. And now she has an internship at Kiewit. And now I have a meeting with Kiewit. Because of this opportunity that she's had, she sees that this is a market, this is an industry that is actually pretty cool. So we're always making those opportunities available for college students, which I've had interns since I've started. I really want to be able to partner or even come up with some type of construction management apprenticeship or something, a workshop for people that we're now seeing leaving other industries to come to this industry. And I really don't know what to do with them because a lot of employers are like, we need some type of background. I mean, we're seeing professors, we're seeing everything else but construction right now because of what's happening. I need to be able to do something with them and now. And so it would be great to have someone reach out, collaborate, and see how we can educate for free to funnel some of these potential people into the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that a place like EVIT, right? East Valley Institute of Technology, they'd be interested in something like that. And yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, it's really, well, I mean, I've got a daughter that's 17, about to go to college in a year, right? So one more year of high school, and I've got another son that's in college. And I think that too often they don't really know what it is that they want to do, right? When they finish high school. And so they think I'm interested in something, or I'm going to go and do my generals, first, but colleges aren't really put together that way now. They want you to choose something right out of the gates. And so I almost feel like if there was something in that summer between high school and college, for example, or each summer, their sophomore or junior years, to go and do some sort of an apprenticeship or internship in these different areas of the economy, that they might find something that they're interested in that they would have never thought that they would be interested in.
Right.
Yeah,
and I actually didn't really tap too much on the colleges, putting a lot of pressure on people today. And we're probably going to see a little bit of change in that with everything that's going on, and not sure about what the future holds for a lot of people that were considering college or are in it right now. And so, I'm kind of raising my hand like, let's do something, and let's do something fast. So we can give some opportunities to people who may have to pivot out of into a industry that they were considering. I don't think that college is for everyone. College wasn't for me. I'm a street smarts girl. I like to teach myself stuff, and I like to be out there, and you can absolutely do it. There's a lot of opportunities out there for people to be educated on business, startups, and wow, there any entrepreneur opportunity, people are always willing there to help you, and for free.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're seeing this inflow of people into the industry that maybe you typically didn't see in the past due to the circumstances that we are all living in these days. So can you spend a couple minutes and just speak to that? I assume that you've got your hand very pressed hardly upon the pulse of the construction company. So love to just get your thoughts around what's going on in that industry with COVID and all that stuff.
Right. Well, first on the people that we're seeing into this industry, and something that the construction industry always expresses, and you'll hear it all the time, is that we want more people in this industry, and they always are talking about it. And it's kind of become like, okay, you want more people in this industry. Well, here we are. We have them, and I have them. I see them every day, and I talk to them every day, and I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on. If we just focus directly on the COVID situation, and what that looks like, people are kind of freaking out a little bit, and they're not sure what they're going to do to earn money and to start a new career. And I have some conversations with some of the customers that I have, and I have to confirm with them for some of the entry-level jobs, labor jobs that I have. And I say, would you consider someone who is coming out of a different field, nursing, caregiving, people that were in schools that can't work in schools, teachers, things like that? No, we can't. And so you kind of find it interesting that people often express that they want more people, but when it happens, they're not taking it.
Yeah. So for somebody like myself that, like I said, I can hardly hammer a nail into the wall. For somebody like myself that doesn't have a good understanding of that industry, and obviously you do, why is that the case?
Well, there's a standard in this industry. There is kind of there's terms that are used, but we'll keep it PG. You kind of have to know your strong suits, your work ethic one, and my brand is around work ethic, because that's how strongly most people in this industry feel. They want to know you can work. You'll hear from some contractors or superintendents, or, I've heard many times that they've considered people that don't know anything about it. I mean, fresh out of college or just fresh out of school, high school, but they can't put the work in. The work ethic is different versus when our parents were working back then versus now. And so the standards are all over the place, and that's because this generation that we're seeing today is the type of work is much different. That definitely brings some challenges. And I think some of the people that apply into some of these jobs, I think that they're searching for anything. And they may not know the scope of work or the type of the work that goes into it. So they may end up if they get a job, they may end up thinking, well, what is this job going to be? And so there's always going to be these challenges, but that's why Hard Hats needs to be able to target people that are already in this industry, that are qualified and are dedicated, so that we can funnel them back into the workforce specifically when they experience downtime. And that downtime means weather, storms, bids, or permits that don't go through. There's so many driving factors to downtime that can put a project out for a few days, if not a few months. We need to be able to take those guys and give contractors an opportunity to lend out their crew during this downtime in addition. And that's really our long-term plan, but I want to tell you all my secrets.
Why not?
Because, I don't want to get everyone excited here, but, the industry I know they're keeping a close pulse and watch what I'm doing, because I've done something very different. Long-term, we have big plans. And if I had more opportunities and more support, I mean like real support. I'm not talking, all the support's great, but I would love some real juicy, big company back in Hard Hats, because we're doing something great and we could use it.
Let the record show that when she asked for real support, she looked at me and then said juicy. So I'm not sure what that means, but
I'm just trying to make it fun so people are listening in on us today.
Yeah, they're watching too.
I know. Oh, is the cameras here?
Yeah.
I had no. You guys didn't tell me. Well, hello everyone.
Yeah.
She would have been looking into the camera the whole time if we'd let her know. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that what you're doing is certainly revolutionary, and what you just went over actually kind of lets us know that stereotypes continue to prevail, right? Stereotypes that women can't work in construction, stereotypes that millennials today don't have a work ethic, and some of that is true, right? There's some truth in all stereotypes, of course, but just because somebody's 18 today or 22 today or 21 today doesn't mean that they don't know how to work, right? And we've got to be able to get past that. And, you've got a solution for that. You've also got a solution for, like you said, lending a crew to somebody else when there's downtime at their current employer. And I think that that's a very innovative way to look at things because, like I mentioned earlier, coming from a construction family, my dad worked 18 hours a day in the summer and didn't work a lot in the winter, right? And that was outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. And so, there was snow for weeks and he couldn't work, or there was, big visqueen over the scaffolding and the heaters to try to keep it warm enough to be able to stucco a building. And so I think that what you're onto here is obviously very innovative.
Right.
Definitely a startup, as we know. So, with startups, you're always raising capital. So tell us what you're doing there and some of the challenges that you've had as a female raising capital and being a female founder.
Yeah. Well, let's be real for just a second. We're all well aware of the challenges that we're all facing today in America, the world. I never thought in a million years that I would be raising capital during a pandemic, a race war, you name it. We can go on. We're not going to tap into it, and trying to explain to investors that actually construction is one of the industries outside of healthcare that is still thriving. And that is something that anyone needs to know. We're going to face some challenges due to materials, things being, shipped back and forth. There's going to be a little bit of effect in the industry temporarily, but we will come out of this in 2021. Residential, commercial is going to still do really great. Federal projects, highway projects, we're still going to see a great economy after this. I truly believe that. Raising capital, I'm raising about $200,000 right now. I'm constantly pitching to startup opportunities. I'm actually competing in the CEMEX Ventures. That's a global competition. It's the biggest aggregate company, CEMEX. So they have this big competition. So I'm looking forward to getting my foot in that. I'm already submitted. And so any competition, anything I can get, grants, free money, we're in traction. We're I just got a call from Oakland Construction. So that alone is really showing some great validation, and people are asking questions.
Yeah, that's a much larger commercial contractor than people realize. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I always try to feel surprised when I get these conversations, but I'm not surprised. And this industry is itching and hurting for something, and I can definitely say that it's giving me some advantage because I know how to talk to these guys and I keep it real with them all day, every day. Workers, PMs, supers, contractors, all my dad's customers, and they appreciate that a lot. And so that has given me a great opportunity to serve this industry in Arizona, and I'd like to expand. We have expanded, but really expand into our non-union states, of course, staying away from California.
I do not blame you there.
Nor do I, being a California boy.
Yeah,
So we're good.
I lived there for a long time too, and I have a lot of family that still lives there, and I have owned a business in California, so I understand the frustrations. So let's take a quick break and hear another word from our sponsor, and then we got a couple more questions for you if you're willing to stay.
Whether you're an established local company or a brand new startup, you can count on GBS to be part of your family. We're not just any benefits consulting firm, we're GBS. We have nearly 30 years of experience in group benefits, a strong sense of purpose, and it shows. GBS, believe in something better. gbsbenefits.com.
All right, we're back. So Landon, I think you're up for the next question. What do you think?
All right, I think I can handle that. You've talked a lot about the human side of your business. I'm excited. Our listeners will be excited. Austin will be excited. We're all going to be excited. We want to hear about technology. So tell us about how you're weaving technology into your company, and I think you might have some future plans for your app. So love to hear about that.
Technology is something that I really enjoy because you can be very creative with it and build your idea around a piece of technology that can really do all the work for you. We're currently at an early on stage. So as we raise capital, we then build into our app a little bit more heavier and automate more. So we work alongside with developers and, of course, Coplex, who assist us with our business development and automating the app specifically for the demand side, meaning customers. And so we have this opportunity for contractors to post jobs and gigs into the platform. They can list up to 1 or 5 people that we can source out. So, for example, if they need 5 laborers, we will then pre-interview and vet and rate these workers so that we can match them to companies effectively. So we were really becoming kind of their HR assistant at a very fair cost and provides lots of value just for what they're paying for. We have a large network of reaching 20,000 people. And so I've kind of utilized our social platforms to get jobs out to people where they are every day versus them just sitting at a job board, which is still a great thing to use. But we think it's important to bring more awareness to the jobs that are available in construction and really aggressively put them out there for people to see. So in addition to that, and that's currently what we're doing long-term outside of our technology, once we build a true marketplace opportunity, we want to be able to have this platform that provides a free place to post jobs, just always jobs, no matter what, for anyone. And then we can also provide a gig opportunity short-term for workers when they experience that downtime. So we can get some money in their pocket. We'll provide the insurance and that transaction through the app. But then in addition, we're going to have, say we have ABC Contracting that has a crew of 10 guys that specialize in a specific trade and a skill like concrete. We want to be able to list that crew at asking price basically where XYZ Contracting can come in and say, all right, these guys are down for 2 weeks. We're going to bring them on our project. We're going to relieve my timeline, get some help on my project, and then they can go back to ABC Contracting. And so we wanted to have this lending opportunity. Of course, there's going to be an agreement, a pretty heavy agreement in that. But instead of just looking into solutions that people are already doing, we're looking outside of those solutions. What can we do to bring relief now and here on? Because I feel that the industry is always going to be dealing with this problem, no matter what. No matter how hard the Arizona or the country tries on workforce development, we're always going to see this little problem, the shortage, talent, quality. So we need to figure out how we can utilize that quality that's here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned shortage. So talk to us for a couple minutes and tell us, what do you want to see from the industry? What do you need from your industry? What do you want to tell them about this labor shortage crisis? Because because it sounds like you're solving a problem. So what do you have to say to them?
There's hope. I think that we need to start looking at this problem, this crisis. I mean, you can Google it and you'll find stuff all about this problem and people trying to find solutions. And there are some great solutions like apprenticeships that they provide through each and every state. But what we need to do as an industry and a very close, tight relationship between most contractors is come together and more resources and support the people who are really putting effort into this problem. Workforce development stuff is great. We got the apprenticeships down. I think we have that down really well. But there's much more that we can do and much more innovation and disruption that we can do. And a lot of people are working very hard on it. But we're counting on the veterans, the people who have been in this industry for years and years and decades to really get used to this innovation, technology, and learn to adapt. That's really important, I think, for finding relief in this industry. But even with hard hats, we want to be able to form the technology and our solution around how you operate and keeping it simple and personable and communicative between HR and your on-site professionals so that we're just overall, we have your back all the way around. And I think that will really significantly help the shortage. And I don't know if we mentioned or we got a chance to mention this, or I did. My birthday was on Labor Day. So I think that the contractors out there should really take a look at, this woman in this industry solving the labor shortage, and her birthday was on Labor Day. Let's just consider that as like, maybe this girl's got a couple good ideas and maybe she was supposed to come here and do this.
Pieces are all coming together.
Just saying, my family, everything that's been hit on, with everything that I'm doing. Think about it, really.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
Amen.
No, I think one of the things that you said that I'll hone in on a little bit is you're talking about these veterans of the industry and these big companies that are out there, and I think what you hear a lot of times in big companies is, well, that's not the way we do it. We've never done it that way, and I think that that's the worst thing that any company could say. I don't care what size the company is. No executive at a company should ever be saying that's just not the way we do it. We've always got to be looking at other ways to do things that are more innovative. And you've brought us something today that is more innovative. So one question for you that came of that is, everybody talks about this being the gig economy, right? And we've talked about you lending crews from one company to another and having the agreement to do that. But a lot of people want to just be one of those gig economy workers. And it doesn't have to be just in tech, right? It can be construction, and not wanting to work for one company all the time, just wanting to be able to go out and do different jobs and work when they want to and how they want to. Do you see that as something you're doing here as well?
I am. Once I launched HardHats, I realized through some of the customer discovery interviews and questions that I had, and even the customers I have today, that not everybody's looking for a gig opportunity. I would say maybe 2 out of 10 are looking for a short-term opportunity because they have a short-term job and they don't need somebody long-term. I think that there's a lot of gig platforms specifically for construction that are weighing heavily just on that, but I don't feel that that's the overall solution. As far as companies being used to the gig opportunity, I think is slowly making its way through to the industry. But for them to resonate on that overall solution, I think is going to really take some time. And at the end of the day, what this industry wants to see is people who want to work, people that can work, that have the ability to work, and that want to work their way up. They care about the technology, but they want to know that there's someone else behind the scenes really putting in that extra work to find them that manpower. And so I think that's what this industry needs, of someone out there hustling and drawing in that talent pool, and just bringing more of that human experience to workers and contractors. And so far, we're killing it. We're doing great. I'm loving the conversations that we're having. They trust me. Yeah. So I think outside of the gig, there's much more and many more plans that I have, but I need the capital to do it. And if I were to build the technology exactly how I wanted today, it would be marvelous. I built an entire social job board that did a crap ton of stuff. I know that I can build something like this for this industry that will do everything they need and some. Yeah.
Well, you've definitely got confidence in spades, and I think you've got a great idea and some technology that's coming together, and you're certainly at the right place to be building this. I mean, we had Brenda Schmidt on a few weeks ago. Coplex is awesome. I think what they're doing for founders like yourself is just a fantastic, fantastic thing. And we're excited to actually see what things look like, and we'd love to have you back a year from now and see what you've accomplished in a year, and the money that you've raised and where you've taken this to that point. So let's give you the podium for the last few minutes. Tell us a little bit about how we can find you on social, how we can find you on the web, and what else, whatever else you'd like our listeners to hear.
Yes. So I am very active on social media. If anyone's watching, you should know that. I am all about LinkedIn. So Kassidy Hazelton is my personal LinkedIn. Definitely jump on it. I'm always posting great stuff. The handler for our social pages is Hire HardHats. And also our website, same thing, www.hirehardhats.com. If you're a company, just sign up as a company and we'll be in touch with you shortly. And if you're a worker, same thing, sign up, make sure you put your skill set in there. And if you can drop your resume, that would be great. And anything else aside from that, you can always email me. I'm always happy to take a call anytime with anyone at info@hirehardhats.com.
Great. Well, Kassidy, thank you so much for being here today. We've really appreciated the conversation. I know our listeners appreciated it. And if there's even just one person out there who's looking for a job or a company who realizes that there's this service that you're bringing to them, then it was time well spent for all of us. So thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Tycoons of Small Biz, proudly hosted by Austin Peterson and Landon Mance. Austin and Landon are comprehensive financial planning professionals specializing in financial, estate, and succession planning for small business owners. Austin and Landon have offices in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and represent clients in 14 states throughout the country. Join Austin, Landon, and the featured tycoons live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. right here on Business RadioX and your favorite podcast